Back there, we gonna let you close it, don't worry. But I'm gonna turn this back over to Pastor Q.
Thank you. Jeanette, I know you've been waiting to ask your question. If you could, we're gonna allow you to ask your question. And I want to welcome Commissioner Bermudez. I want to welcome our Deputy Commissioner, Clinton Lacey. Thank you for joining us this morning. Would you please ask your question?
Good morning. My name is Shanita Hubbard. I'm the Project Director from Community Connections for Youth. And I know we're pressed for time, and I'll be brief, but I really want to put this in context. For those of you who are not familiar with Community Connections for Youth, we are an alternative to incarceration program for youth. And our goal and our vision is to empower and partner with grassroots organizations and faith-based organizations and empower them with the skill set they need and the training that they need to develop effective alternative to incarceration programs, because we believe the community is the answer and not the problem to what's going on without youth. So one of the ways that we partner is we currently partner with the Department of Probation, and they refer kids to us, and we refer them to our community partners. Fuse is actually one of our community partners to do mentoring. But I wanted to know, how can we collaborate with the police department in a very formal way to be utilized as an alternative to arrest program for the lower level offenses?
That's exactly what I was talking about before, and that's why I had the new Sergeant Tony Ortiz. This is what he's going to be doing. Before you leave, make sure you give Sergeant Cuevas your number, and actually I'm going to have a probation chief, because I want him to meet with them too. We had this going back around 3-4 years ago, and it kind of died out. I really want to get it started again. So absolutely, I put this guy in the unit on Monday. I will have him reach out to you before the week's out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And one of the things that our councilwoman just mentioned is that we need city council funding for this, and so we will go after that actively as a roundtable and our partners here, CCFY. So let's hold them to the fire on that. Just to recap from our last two panelists, our commitments moving forward. Number one is to wrap our arms around the 51 minor violators in the various precincts, so we will sit and strategize on how that would look. Number two, your human trafficking personnel will be joining our coalition just so that we can brainstorm on the human trafficking and domestic violence piece. Number three, we're looking at engaging more a greater partnership level in the reduction of crime and gun violence, etc. So we'll continue this conversation moving forward. And then, Councilwoman, you've committed to putting faith at the table as we look at creating a shifting as far as who's been at the table in the past, particularly on the new commission that was formed 2 years ago, but as well as you're going to look into the, on the appropriation piece, okay? I think we also are committed to continuing the conversation moving forward in the months ahead, and we'll probably have more private dialogues on these issues that we talked about today. That will have to happen like at your office with a few folks at the table to continue the conversation. I think that works. And we realize that it's a citywide responsibility that you have, and it's not just the Bronx, but we strong folks here, especially since you've been with us from the very beginning. Thank you so very much, Councilwoman. We applaud you. We applaud the work that you're doing in our community. I know you do have to leave and get down to City Hall, so we're going to now shift our focus over to Department of Probation as well as ECO. We still need you in this conversation. But can we give our Councilwoman Vanessa a hand? We have our new commissioner with us today, and we have two pointed questions for both of you, and basically they are, what is your role here for our city, and number two, what is your vision action plan in the role that you've now assumed? Thank you.
Good morning. This is working? Yeah. Good morning, everybody, and I'm very sorry that we're very late. So I do want to say that I'm happy to come back if we run short on time, because I know everybody's very busy. So I want to extend that offer. I could talk about all of our work for days and hours. It's great to see my colleagues here from probation and old friends as well. So I'm the new commissioner of probation, although I was in the department for the previous 4 years as a deputy commissioner for juvenile operations. And let me tell you a little bit about my background because that influences a lot of what I'm saying. I'm a recovering lawyer. And I consider myself a Bronx person because that's where I grew up as a lawyer, frankly. I worked in family court for 5 years representing children in child protective cases and delinquency cases, and then that world turned out to be too narrow, if you will. It was too black and white, as if the truth was somewhere that could be found, you know, all the time. And we operate in a gray world when it comes to delinquency, when it comes to child protective issues as well. And so I moved to being in the programmatic world. So I went and worked at cases for 10 years, and I ran a school there for 4 years for young people coming out of Rikers and coming out of OCFS, coming back home. And most of the work that I did was reentry work, reintegrating young people into their communities. And so after cases, I moved to Children's Aid Society, did work there, worked again in the Bronx at the Next Generation Center. I supervised that initiative of the Children's Aid Society, and now at probation. And I can't be happier being at probation because just the work that we need to do and the work we can do on behalf of our young people. So probation manages the young people who get arrested from the ages of 7 and up, essentially, in various ways. In family court, we engage with them from the beginning. The moment they get arrested, they come through our doors, and the first decision that the Department of Probation has to make is whether that case continues on for prosecution or we divert the case and handle the situation outside of the court system. This is where the community comes in. We need many more resources and ways of doing this, okay? Because research demonstrates time and again that the more involved the youth is in the system, in any number of ways, the worse outcomes they have, okay? So our first line of attack is to keep them out, right? Yes. As much as we can, at the youngest age. We don't have that option when they turn 16. Nope. And as you know, we're working on that so that we can change the age of criminal responsibility, because I have young people who, on the basis of 1 day difference, I need to treat them, quote unquote, as adults versus as teenagers that they are, right? And we should be dealing with them as teenagers up until the age of 24, actually, because brain development now says that that's when they are mostly cooked, not quite, but you know, but enough that we can trust them with certain things, right? And so there's approaches that we need to develop to be able to keep the young people outside of the system, or if they get in the system the first time, get them not to come back, right? And that's where we'll